This is Smokin Jim on the Smokin Jim Show. I've got some wonderful guests tonight. I've been waiting and waiting for a time to get these ladies back here in the studio, and now we're in my studio instead of that cramped little apartment studio we had before. I call these the ladies. Bang, there they are. I've got from left to right, that's Robin, Paula, Linda, and Therese. And they do spirit channeling and with the angelic realm and above, which is amazing. And although some people think, oh, that's just silly. I don't know. Some people think that raising people from the dead is silly and unbelievable. So what the heck, right? You know, we all have things that we're good at. And I have had a few experiences in the past few weeks that have challenged me as far as my beliefs and what I think is real and what is happening, and it's all with the angels for me. So let's get this party started. And ladies, anybody who wants this, I'm just going to ask this generally. It's been a long time since you've been on the show, so we're going to kind of start from the beginning again. Okay, so what is somebody describe what they do and why? Just kind of to get out there. Start it off. Anybody?
Oh, sure.
You describe
Everybody
it
looks
so
at
well.
Robin. Go ahead.
A moment ago.
Well, usually I will tell people I'm a conscious direct channel. And when I say that, that's because there's several different types of channeling. Some people do trance channeling. Edgar Casey was one that was very well known for that. They called him sleeping.
Okay, when trance channeling, mean like in a trance
They go,
channeling.
they
Okay.
take themselves completely down into a trance state. And then the being then takes over and delivers messages. However, the person that's in the trance doesn't remember any of this when they come back up. It's as if they took a nap. What I do is I'm fully conscious at the time. And it's like energetically inside, I just back up. And I allow them to come, and they have full use of my body.
Is there like a physical sensation of you like backing
yes.
up?
Well, I can feel their energies. And
Okay.
I can still see through, and they use, I am an open-eyed channel. I don't like closing my eyes. I never have. So I can see through my eyes, and it's very difficult to explain it. It's not like I am right now in beta state. I can see you very clear, but it's
And you said in beta state?
Well, we're in beta brainwave right
Okay.
now. It's just a little difficult to explain how it looks, but I can see through my eyes like I do, but it's like a little different. It's hard to explain that, but
Kind of like you're looking through a window?
kind of. And I'm fully aware of what they are saying. They use my vocal cords. They use my brain, which they call the data bank. They use my hands, my body. But I'm in complete control because I am conscious.
So you can stop
I
anytime.
could stop at any time if I chose to, yes.
All right.
But what else can I say about
Well,
it?
what was the first time you channeled somebody?
Linda and I took a class from a very well-known channel here in town. Her name is Farrell Humphrey. And I was doing channelings at the time, but not knowing it. And I was doing it in what I call readings. And I learned through Doreen Virtue and some other ladies in other books. And I basically thought I was just taking dictation, because I would ask a question on paper, and then I would just sit back and listen and wait for the answer. And then I would hear the answer and just start writing it down. And there's no editing, there's no judging, you just write it down. Well, I didn't realize at the time that was channeling in that way. So when I got into the class with Farrell, I was expecting it to go that same way. I thought I was going to hear it, and then I would just repeat what I was going to hear. And so the first time that happened, I was sitting there, and I'm hearing crickets, nothing.
Okay, well, let me ask you a quick question. When you say you heard it, is it like somebody talking in your ear?
I can hear.
Or is it?
No, it's outside. When I'm doing the readings, it's like I'm hearing somebody over here, and
I mean, like somebody talking to you, like
Right.
as if they're standing next to you.
yeah, it's like outside of me.
Okay.
And so I was expecting that to happen during this class, and I didn't hear a thing. And so I told Farrell, I don't think this is working. And she looked at me, and she can see when you're in channel, your eyes will change. You don't look the same. So she says, no, you're there. You just have to trust it. And so I just had to learn to let go and not wait to hear something to repeat. I had to understand they will start talking as soon as I let go of the control.
So it's going to be kind of a frightening thing at first to
No, it wasn't.
to
It
like
was
give
just
up
different.
control.
It was
Like this
very
is like the
different.
first. It's like jumping off a high dive. It's
And you're well. It's kind of. I guess there's an element of small fear there. I guess.
Well,
'cause you're
I
thinking
don't
you're
really
the
mean to
one
say
in
fear like
control.
you're terrified, but it's you
Yeah.
have to give something. You have to trust something
Right.
outside of yourself.
Yes. And it definitely you get to explore your belief systems. A lot of them you didn't know you had, and so
Has
that,
there ever been anything like that's really confounded you in your own beliefs when you first learned how to do this?
Oh.
I mean, like, how were you raised? I mean, with religion, like Baptist
No.
or Catholic?
I was very fortunate that my parents raised us with no religion.
Where are you
they-
from originally?
Originally Chicago,
Oh, okay.
and I was a Navy brat.
I was gonna say if you're in Texas, then I
No,
don't
my
know
dad-
how that happened.
My dad was from Dallas. My dad was
Really?
Yeah, he was from Dallas. My mom's
Okay.
from Waukegan, but I was a Navy brat. But they had agreed that they wouldn't force religion on us. Mother was Catholic, and I don't think my dad was anything. But so they kind of let us explore on our own. So as a kid, I would meet friends, and of course we traveled like every 3-4 months. It seemed like. So I kept meeting new kids all the time. So I would go to all their little churches and stuff. So I explored all sorts of stuff when I was a kid: Lutheran, Methodist, Baptist, Presbyterian. I mean, I did all of them, and it wasn't probably until I got into my more adult years. Oh, good.
The ladies are hearing this peeping, like, what the heck?
That's okay. I have 7 of them. In
My new
That's a
housemate
normal sound. I didn't even hear it.
has a pet bird in her room, which the first time I started hearing that, I was like, what the hell is that? Oh, it's the bird. He'll stop after a couple minutes.
But anyway, so as a young adult in my 20s, I got involved with the Jehovah's Witnesses. So that was my first exposure as an adult to organized religion. And I went through that experience, and that changed me tremendously, especially when I got kicked out.
Well, when you said Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm thinking I didn't want to say anything because it's not my business. But I'm not particularly anti-religious myself. I don't have a religion of my own.
Right.
My mother tried to make me Catholic, and that just didn't work. And ironically, the for Catholic school in first, second, third grade is probably what eventually convinced me that this is just not the right thing for me. But Jehovah's Witnesses are a little bit extreme in my book, in my experience meeting some of them.
Yeah.
They're nice, but they don't celebrate birthdays. Like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can't not celebrate my birthday or something.
Yeah, it took a lot. I had to revamp a lot of the way I was raised, and I went right along with the whole show. But yeah, so when I got out of that, but I always defended them. Half of me kind of still thought they were right, and they.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, Jehovah's Witnesses?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. I committed fornication,
Oh, good Lord!
and I turned my own self in because I knew I was going to get turned in anyway.
You heard it live on the Smokin Jim Show.
Yeah. Yeah, I did it.
Yep, fornication.
Can't believe
Of course, that's not one of the
Committed
10
that.
commandments. Thou shalt not commit fornication.
no.
They didn't care. That was one of their rules.
Yeah, I know that's a biggie in that book.
Yeah. So they convinced me that I was dead to God, and this was it for me. This life was it. After this one, you're done. And that had a big impact on my life at that point because I just spiraled out of control. I believed them.
You're in your 20s then.
Mhm.
Okay.
I believed them. So I moved up here about 17 years ago, and about less than a year up here, Spirit got me where I was starting to get exposed to the other spiritual teachings. And the first one that I got exposed to was a psychic, which with witnesses is like absolute taboo.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the big one. And at a Scarborough Fair. And a friend of mine talked me into going to see this lady, and I was like, oh, no. And then I started thinking, well, we're outside and the sun's shining, And I don't know why. I don't know why, but that made a difference. I thought then I'm okay.
Well, I suppose there aren't any lightning bolts nearby,
I'm
perhaps.
okay. It's daylight out and it's the sun out, and I'll be all right. So I went, and that was my very first exposure to crystals. She had crystals on her table. I'd never been around any of them. And I immediately picked one up and held on. And I don't remember a lot of what she said, but she told me that I was very, very spiritual. Well, in my mind, that meant religious. And I was like, well, if you only knew, because I felt very jaded because of my past. And so, we came out of there, my girlfriend and I were talking about it, and then eventually I just kept getting exposed more and more and more to people, but that broke the ice for me.
The ground didn't open and swallow you up.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I also suppose, you like when you say broke the ice, it kind of broke through, and like some things were able to get into you now, like get to you.
Right.
Like influences.
Right. So I just kind of started slowly. Spirit just slowly brought me in, and I just learned a little bit at a time as I was ready to learn. And I think what impacted me most is I met a lady that's still my dear friend now, Donna, and when I told her about what they had taught me and what I believed, and she says, I am so sorry. And I was like, why? She goes, that you had to go through your life believing such a horrible lie, that you were dead to God. That is the most horrible thing they possibly could have said to you. And no one had ever said that to me, and that struck. I mean, I was like, whoa. And that got me thinking, well, maybe there is something else. I kind of started making the turn.
Yeah,
my way of thinking and believing at that point.
One of my things was, God loves you unconditionally unless you make a mistake. And then, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, even my parents still like me after some things I've done.
Right. Right.
Anyway. All right. Paula?
Kind of got off the subject there.
No, this is...
What was the question?
Well, kind of like, where did you, when did you start realizing that what you were doing and what was coming to you?
And truthfully, I can't put a win on that because I don't remember. I had been part of a group that gathered every Friday night, and it started out as a mediumship group. The person who hosted it and half the people there were mediums, so we were getting messages from loved ones, and I got many messages over those 2 years from ancestors way down the line, and it's you just feel it in your heart. But eventually we realized we ran out of loved ones to get messages from, so she started sharing messages from her spirit guides.
Well, let me ask you something real quick here. I mean, was this, when you started receiving messages or realizing you were receiving messages, did this kind of, like a light bulb go off of your head? Oh, this has been happening to me for a long, long time, and now I kind of realized what it was.
No, it didn't take long.
Okay.
And at first it was kind of like an insight, and I still call it insights. In the group situation, and I would not channel, but I would say, I have a message to share with you, and then I would just say what it was. I wasn't actually channeling, but I was getting it during the gathering, and usually it was afterwards that I got up and I was like, I think I'm supposed to share this with you guys. So I did that.
So you kind of
really
broke the ice then too.
And I actually took a class from Farrell Humphreys, which these girls did as well. And I was already channeling at the time, but that was a confirmation for me that I was doing it right. I guess there's really no right way, but it's your way, what's comfortable for you. And that was several years ago. But it was an intention with me. I was getting some beautiful messages through other people, and the energy was so beautiful. And I set the intention that I want to do this. So I started practicing by myself, asking spirit questions, and getting beautiful answers, loving answers. And then I finally, kind of started sharing the messages, and then at some point started actually channeling as I was receiving them. So
How many years have you been channeling?
10, maybe.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So the first time, is it kind of like, oh my Lord,
No way.
Or did you just
It's
like, this is
pure
great?
bliss.
Really?
You feel, yeah, you feel so much joy. It just radiates from you. It's just pure bliss. It's an experience that is pure bliss.
And nothing.
There's nothing fearful about it. Now,
Okay.
if you're channeling lower entities, like on the lower astral realm, that can be frightening.
Well, how do you protect yourself against that?
You just say, I want to channel spirit from the vibration of love or above or something to
You know, and no, thug or
I
astral
don't-
plane
yeah,
bully can break in there and.
I don't channel people's dead loved ones. Many people do, and that's very powerful for people who are grieving and everything to go to a medium and know that their loved ones have crossed over and are doing wonderful. It's a very powerful gift. But I chose not to do that. And I have done that, but not with intention. It just happened, those people happen to need that message, I guess. But it's very rare.
Have you ever had, let's just come across somebody at a party, in a grocery store, anywhere, and like something hits you like, this person here needs something? Is it something like you turn on and off?
I don't think so. But there are a lot of psychics out there who were born with this gift, and they can't turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can kind of shut it down, I think, when they're out in public if they choose to. But it's not something you can turn off.
Okay.
So they get those messages like you were talking about, like someone they might meet in a grocery line or something. But that has not been the case for me.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what we're going to do right now? We're going to take a little bit of a break because, well, we just have to. Trust me. We'll be back in a few minutes, okay? Stick with us here on the Smokin Jim Show, and if I can get the music to play like it's supposed to, we'll even be better off. Come on. There you go. Thanks, music. Be back in a few minutes. Stick with us here, Smokin Jim Show with the ladies, as I call them. All right, well, I should have had the camera on me. Here I am. Hey, this is Smokin Jim here on the Smokin Jim Show. It is 3/16, March 16th, 2013, and 7:40 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the Big P, Plano, Texas, where the big Smokin Jim studios are. Anyhow, I've got the most fascinating group of ladies with me tonight. I'll get the camera on them here. Click that right button, click that button. There we've got Robin, Paula, Linda, and Therese, who were channelers extraordinaire, angelic realm and above. And we started off with Robin and Paula. Let's get to Linda now and hear her story. What's going on? And, you know, it's what makes you tick, dear?
Well, what an interesting question. What makes me tick? I wanted to just tell you a little bit about where I came from and how I got into this and why I love this so much and why it's so important, why I think it's so important to be doing this work, because we consider it work, but it's joyful work. I've been on this path. We all have, all of our lives. When I was working in corporate world, which actually I still am, but back in the 80s, I was a trainer. And I used to train people in management kinds of stuff and team building and all that kind of thing. And I remember thinking, I have to present, and I would have, this stuff is always in my mind, and so I would get up there and I would say, it would be like it was just flowing out of me. And it was different. There was a slightly different ring to it, there was a slightly different tone about it, and it was like, I was just kind of wondering where that came from. It was cool, because it just flowed. I can't explain it other than it just flows out and everything makes sense. I remember one time being in front of the classroom, and I heard my name as loud as like someone was saying it from the right, or it was from the left. And I turned to the table that was sitting over there with 8 people at it, and I said, did somebody call my name? And they looked at me like I was out of my mind. And there have been a number of times when I've just heard my name or I've heard a word spoken loudly, and it's like, I don't know who they are. All right, let's fast forward. Shirley MacLaine got me turned on to channeling in her book, Out on a Limb, back in the 80s. I was so excited about that, I had to meet somebody who channeled. I did. Within 5 days of saying to a friend of mine, I want to meet somebody who channels, there she was. So we went and we started working with this gal who was channeling an entity named Ruth. This was in the late 80s, early 90s.
Ruth?
Ruth.
Okay.
She said she was the character from the Bible named Ruth. That's who she was.
That Ruth?
In that lifetime, that's who she was.
That's a big name.
Yes, it is. And
I'm not trying to be flip. That's a big name.
Yeah, it was quite an experience of about 2 years of working with her. We did past life regressions with her. She channeled, we worked with her. She taught us a lot of stuff. It was really cool. Okay, fast forward again, up to the time that we actually took that class with Farrell. By the time that we got to there, into 2000, this was 2004, I really wanted to learn how to channel. It was like, okay, it's time. It's time. So we went to the class. We all struggled with that, am I really doing it thing? And we practiced. There were 4 of us that practiced from that class. We would meet twice a month, and we practiced for 2 years, twice a month. We'd come in, we'd ask questions, we'd see what people would bring through, who they would bring through, and what the answers were. It was often Archangel Michael. It was often Archangel Gabriel. Also, Archangel Zadkiel came through. Those were the 3 main ones. I think that one of the other gals channeled Ramtha every now and then.
Ramtha?
Yeah.
Haven't heard of that one.
Yeah. And then I don't know, it just, things began to roll. We were in class with Therese. Therese is a teacher and our guide, I would say, through all of this. And that's when, for me, things really started to change. In her energy and the energy that's created at her home, it's so easy because we are in an energetic field that just allows them to come through so much quicker and easier, and it's thrilling. Every week we meet in her house, and she channels fabulous, those just wonderful entities that come through. I often channel every week in that class because it's just so much fun, and they want to come in and talk. And I'm going to say this about why I think this is so important.
She's going to say it emphatically.
Yes, way back when, this was eons ago, we were here, but we were not in as such a strong physical form as we are now. And we easily communicated with the angels, with the elementals, all those beings that were present on Earth at that time. Easy. We just talked to them. We lost that capability. We won't go into all that about why that happened. We lost it, and we've been gradually trying to get back to it through the great energies and faith and holding light through some of these great beings that we now talk to through each other. So that now, you may have heard of the veil, as the veil that was dropped, so that when we come in here, we don't remember who we are. So we have to make our way back every lifetime, get through the karma, all the stuff that we've created in all the lifetimes we've lived. The veil is very thin now because the energies have shifted. Over the last 20 years, 30 years, the energies have gotten lighter and lighter and lighter because of the great work that the light workers have done on Earth. And there are millions of light workers here now, in physical form like we are, and those who are on the other side who are coaching and setting up grids and doing the kinds of things that makes the energy get lighter and be able to be accessed by all of us. So, the reason the channeling is important is because we're getting back to that place where we can actually talk with those who love us so much. It's just hard to put into words. They try to do that and tell us how much they love us, and they tell us a lot, but it's hard to get that just through words. So they send in this fabulous energy to let us feel surrounded by love, and they want everyone to know that. And so when we channel as a group, or Robin and I do some on our own, Paula is doing some in different places as well. It's to let people know that they're there, and they are accessible to anyone who wants to be in touch. And we were telling stories before we got started about different things that have happened to each one of us, not just us, but you were telling your stories. Jim has been telling his stories.
Yeah, I've had a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they're there and they want to talk to us, and they want us to know what the real truth is. This illusion that we live in is not real, but the real truth is what they bring to us from the other side, the real truth about who we are, and that's the big, astonishing fact that we are God in action in the world. Each one of us has that spirit spark, and that is God in the world acting. And that is a big truth to try and understand.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And I think especially especially in Texas, it's very difficult for people to grasp that without feeling that they are, like when Robin was saying about the Jehovah's Witnesses, without feeling that they are blaspheming the entire thing, which is exactly the opposite. You were embracing it at that point.
Yes.
I really don't believe in blaspheming so much because God knows what's going on. Like, you're cool, you're fine, just don't, be nice and do your best.
Yeah.
I figure he would be cool with that. But actually, I want to now shift over to Therese here because, Linda, you mentioned something a minute ago, that we lost the capability years ago, eons ago.
Yes.
And I want to ask Therese, is that comparable with the biblical fall of man?
Yes.
Like, what we conceive, people think of like Adam and Eve, the fall of man,
Yes.
our ability, we have lost the ability. Is that really what the fall of man was?
Yes.
Oh, well, I was right.
You were?
God, I'm smart.
How about that?
How about that? See, Bailey?
Yes. One thing I would like to point out here is many times when we're receiving wisdom, from our higher self or from the higher energies, from the God energy, whatever you want to call it. It might sound like it's us. It might sound like we're talking to ourselves. And that's where people think, oh, well, that's just me. And they don't give any credence to it. And they don't stop and think, where did it come from? Where did that concept come from?
Or how did I know that?
Yes, did that come from my brain?
Well,
Or did that come from my mind?
you hear of things, something like along the lines of Edison and the light bulb.
Yes.
You know, he had that idea, but somebody else. I mean, those ideas kind of like came up at the same
Yes.
time. So it seems to me like some kind of atmospheric continuum, which is kind of feeding this energy. And like, you know, some people who are
Yes.
receptive enough are like, "Ooh, I got an idea. Yeah, I got the same
Yes.
idea." And Scott Adams, who writes the comic strip Dilbert, did you read that?
yes.
Yeah.
He is very much into spirituality, that kind of thing. And he said that he wrote a comic strip once, a character he was going to put in there, which was just, you know, a one or two time thing, a false tenor singer. He's going to call him Placebo Domingo. But it turns out somebody else had already used it, like recently. And he was like, son of a bitch, we had the same idea at the same time. So, just an example of, you know, these kind of things happen that we're all being, communication is going on.
Well, just keep in mind that thought energy is the lightest energy there is, and it flies around the room. If you're in a room with a group of people, if somebody has a thought, somebody else is going to catch it. They're going to think it too, and it just starts to go. And if you start changing the way people think all around the world, imagine the way that those thoughts can change what's going on. I'm going to give you an example. What I think happened when the Berlin Wall fell. I was working at Texas Instruments, and there were a lot of people working in a lot of other companies all around the United States and Japan and Europe, and everybody was working on empowerment. That was the big word in the 80s, empowerment. And what that meant was, let's get the people talking who are actually doing the job. Let's get the ideas from the people who have got their hands on and making the product or selling the service or whatever it was. Empowerment. Well, that energy, I think, went around the world many times. And I think that's what happened when the wall came down in Berlin. People said, no more. And it came down.
Well,
It was people coming into their own power saying, this is over. And it's kind of like the Cold War ended.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's what happened.
We are watching that now. If you look at all the people now in Iran, in Egypt, they've all
The revolts that have been
the
going
energies
on.
have changed
Mhm.
to where now it's like, I'm not doing this anymore. And you're seeing that it's coming from the younger generation. A lot
Well,
of
I
them
believe
now
the
are
younger
coming in.
generation, and this may sound trite, you know, sound like something the Monkees might sing in one of their songs. Younger generation are the ones who are more apt to listen, aren't quite so jaded yet, aren't quite so hard-headed in their beliefs. So they tend to be the ones who make the changes happen,
Yeah.
or at least start the changes happening.
They come in on a higher energy and a more loving energy. And when they bring that in, it's like, it's just different. You sit and talk with people in their teens or early 20s, they are different people from where we were when we were that age. It is so refreshing and so exciting and hopeful to talk with some of these folks.
Well, I notice a lot of things around, like in this country, I don't want to get into politics, but there is a political shift that is very dramatic going on. I mean, I don't identify with either right, left, conservative, liberal. I'm actually registered independent, but a lot of people are loosening up the iron grip on, how to say, between their feelings of right and wrong. I mean, it's like, just let it go. It's old. It's over. It's stop. Like, you know, same-sex marriage, for instance. It's a lot of them are saying, oh, you know what? Who cares? Leave them alone. You know, they're not quite so adamant about being against anything. And I think it's confounding a lot of the religious right, for instance, who are still pounding the pulpit louder and louder, saying, "No, you're wrong. You have to listen to us." And they say, "Actually, you know what? No, I don't. I don't have to listen to you particularly. I've got to listen to me. I got to listen to what I feel because." And that's probably pretty much why I left my mother's attempt of making me a Catholic. It's like, I am so tired of being called a sinner. I haven't done anything wrong. I don't hurt on purpose, at least. I mean, I screw up. Who doesn't? You know? So everybody just back off and calm down. Have a glass of wine, relax, and be groovy, which is pretty much what it was from the 60s. But I remember the 60s. I couldn't drink wine then, but I remember. I'm kind of getting that impression. And now, especially since I am kind of barely starting to tune into this thing myself. I shouldn't call it this thing, but this, the energy that's out there, who has like been knocking on my head. Would you please listen? For a while now. Now I'm starting to listen. I'm like, wow.
It's
Because
easier
you're ready
now.
to listen now.
Because the energies
Yes.
have changed.
Mm-hmm.
2012 has come and gone.
Yes.
Right.
And we are now heavily into the
Into
new
the shift.
energy.
We are in the
So
shift
a
now.
lot of people are opening up. The other place where Robin and I channel, the folks who come there, a lot of them are just beginning to open up to this path. And it is just thrilling to meet these people who are what we call newbies on the path, you know?
Newbies, yeah.
Yeah, they're opening up, and it's just a thrill to see the excitement that they have about it, the experiences that they have. It's wonderful.
Well, people, yeah, you get the detractors who are calling it witchcraft, and it's the Bible says you can't do that. It's like, well, okay, first of all, and the Bible said the disciples talked to Jesus after he came back. Isn't that the same thing? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, like, they're also, except for Thomas, you know, they all saw Jesus come back after he was dead. Like, that's kind of a mediumship there, so I don't know what you're talking about, which is bad. I really don't understand it too much. I've never really studied the religious aspect of things too much. But it is kind of exciting for me, as I was telling you ladies earlier tonight, that, you know, I had recently lost my job, and this book, Enduring Virtue, the Angel Therapy Handbook, I found. I gave Bailey a copy for Christmas. I found that. I said, well, I'm just going to take that home. And I think, actually, no, this is for Christmas. This is before I lost my job. But then, like, I lost him, like, oh, Lordy Lou. Let's kind of look through this thing and see what, you know, and just give myself some comfort,
Right.
if nothing else. And I started to ask, you know what? All I need is a little bit of courage. This is like a Wizard of Oz scene. A little bit of courage, some motivation, and just hit me in the head when I need to be looking at something that's right in front of me. Because I don't know, we all tend to be in such a hurry nowadays that I think we miss a lot of things that are placed right in front of us.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, you know, I found a job. It's not much, but it's something. I started, the first day I started training, they offered me a better place in that job. I was there for 2 weeks, and they suggested I apply for something else in that job. And said, yeah, you're going to, in a couple of months, I wouldn't be surprised if they pull you out of here and give you something better. So, but all because I think, well, you know, I put a lot of years of effort in people service, but also I was thinking, you know, I just, you know, angels of abundance, please, you know, I just need somebody to put something in front of me, show me what I'm supposed to be doing here, and I'll do my best to do it. Therese, please.
Do you ever think that maybe you need to have the belief in yourself to recognize who and what you are? Because I think that's what people are coming to now. You will find a lot now about a new movement called the I Am. It's an ancient movement of people learning to believe who they are, that they are one with all that is. And this is
I agree with that to a point. Yes, I mean, that is very nice. I try to affirm to myself these kind of things. I always feel I'm just like, maybe I'm just paying lip service to this thing. Is this for real? Am I doing it right? I don't know.
Okay, one of the things that in the channelings that they will repeat over and over and over, And they have often told us that they do not mind repeating over and over because there was absolutely no judgment on the other side. None.
Right.
We humans are the only ones that judge anything.
Yes.
There is no judgment, period. None on the other side. If you're ever taught that there is, that's a man-made teaching.
That's
That
right.
is not coming from God. So they have always said, because we are under what's called a law of free will here, and
Right.
they're bound to not interfere with that. So they always say, we cannot interfere with you. If there is something wrong or you're needing help, we can stand by and send you love and light, but until you ask for the help, then we can step in and help you. And a lot of times, you don't even have to formulate the question. All you have to do is say is help, and bam, they're there. You saw it. As soon as you started asking for the help, you started getting the help.
It's kind of spooky.
No,
Not spooky
that's
bad,
how-
but it's just.
see, that's how. Now, this is something. You can take the word spooky right out of there.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say spooky is a
Yeah.
bad thing, but it's just kind of like.
Well, what it
like,
is what tells me when I know the angels are in gear, when I know they're the ones that have taken over, things will move so fast and so smooth. That's when I know they've got it. It's when I start interfering and I start stepping in, then things start getting choppy, and I can't quite get things to go, and didn't work. Let me try this. Let me try that. That's me interfering. But when they're
Yeah,
taking it
I can
over,
get that.
it goes smooth as glass.
I have to learn to stop worrying so much.
There it is. That too.
Exactly.
That too.
I mean, being as where I used to work, the fear of losing my job was there first. I think it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I brought
You
it on
got
myself.
There you go. Yeah.
And I realized
We
that,
do that.
and I kept thinking to myself, I got to stop thinking this way because I'm going to bring it to myself.
Yep.
But then again, you can't hear. Come over here, talk.
Here.
Let me just pull my chair over here.
All right.
I'm sorry. All right. Now, last year, I was telling you, it's time for you to move on. Your job's not going to be there much longer.
Yes, dear.
Now, I did tell you this.
Yes, I know. But I'm pig-headed.
Yes, we all know that.
Luckily, you're not.
Not me at all.
Uh-huh.
So, and I did keep repeating it. Just probably not as hard as I should have.
Well, I tend to. When somebody tells me like you got to, I put up a barrier. I think a lot of my issue was ego,
Yes.
and in Doreen's book, which is not on camera now, she mentions that the bad stuff you're hearing that's from your ego, and that's my cat.
Do you know what the acronym for ego is?
Okay, no.
Edging God out.
Ooh, excellent.
Wow.
That's the
Nicely,
acronym for
nicely
ego.
put.
That's your personality self. When we speak of ego, it's not the conceited egotistic thing.
Right.
That's totally separate. But when we talk ego, it's the edging God out part of us.
Well, see, what I did was I liked people depending on me.
Sure.
And I like people, and this is kind of a pride thing where pride can do you harm if you're not careful. But when people left that restaurant and they said, Jim, we had such a great time. Thank you so much. I thought, you know what? I really felt good that I had done
You
something
made
that,
a difference in somebody's
Yeah,
life.
I made them happy.
That's right.
and this
Yes.
is what I felt, Bailey, the first night that I lost my job. I was on the phone with you that night and just bawling
Yeah.
because this is who I am. This is what I did. These people depended on me, and I depended on them. We fed off each other, and I think maybe I was feeding off them more than I should have.
There's no shoe.
No, but that's a judgment. So see, no.
Well, maybe, perhaps.
no,
I'm
yeah.
still learning.
Right, right.
But I'm thinking, I've lost this. I've
Yeah.
lost all this stuff. But all of a sudden, I found something else.
That's right.
And I realized when I got off over the fear of losing my job, what am I going to do? Well, they were very nice about giving me extra paychecks. I got the last one coming in next week.
Great.
They did not. They said they would not halt any application for unemployment. And other things fell into place where I'm now, like I said, in this job, I'm making squat,
That's okay.
but it's in an office building. And I'm meeting a lot of people. And Bailey and I had a meeting today with the woman I met there after I said, Angels, please show me something where I could make some decent bucks here. And these things popped up on the internet. that I kept seeing. And half an hour, 40, maybe an hour or so, driving to work, and I was talking out loud to the angels, trying to avoid killing myself on 75. That, show me something here. I know that something's coming here. And I mentioned this plan, this thing that I was thinking of. I got to work, and not 45 minutes later, a woman walked right past me, wearing a button on her shirt. And I said, "What does that say?" He said, "Oh, well, it's this, that." No, I don't want to bring it up on the air right now, but it's this, that, and other thing. And I went dunk, because that's exactly the thing I was thinking of. And she walked right past me.
So you see what I mean?
Yeah, and that's when it started. Spooky's not the right word, but it's like, okay, all right.
These are called
Well, it's new.
synchronicities.
It's synchronicity is what you're experiencing.
Yeah, it's kind of like feeling like I'm actually can do witchcraft. Like, I'm bewitched. I can make these happen. This is kind of weird. This is cool.
It is magic.
Yes.
It is
Okay.
magic, and it is but it's more than magic. It is in the new reality, and the reality where we can talk to the angels. That is reality. There's no difference between one thing and another that happens. You're in the flow. When you're in the flow of love, and you're reaching out and asking for help, it has to come. And I want to say something else to you. You spent 11 years at your job spreading your light. You were done there. And it's time for you to spread your light somewhere else. I would say that's part of what's going on for you right now. There's another place for you to go in and spread your light.
Well, that's part of what I was saying before. I think you're right. I'm done there. And I was telling Bailey, you know what? They've kind of screwed things up a little bit here and there, and they're not in trouble, but bills are getting paid. All the stuff that I used to do that the owners really had no idea how much I did, they're kind of like fumbling with right now. And I'm kind of like saying, ha, good for you. I don't want to be mean. I don't want
You
the
might
place.
want to let go of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that will come back and bite you.
I don't want
Bless
that. I
them.
don't want anybody hurt. I don't want the place to fail. There are a lot of people there I like, and it's a
Yes.
good place. And I will still say it's the best place that you can go there. That kind of restaurant.
Bless them and thank them for the experience that you've
was
had.
your ego saying ha 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 ha.
I know, and it's bad, but give me a little time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's. I thought if they were to call me tomorrow and say, "Okay, we screwed up. We need you back here, and we'll pay you more," I would say no. Even though I can use the money, I haven't felt. I got over the fear of, oh my God, what's going to happen to me now? And I just started, okay, just go forward. I'm beginning again.
What
And-
you're feeling is freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom to start over. Freedom to find a new path, a new way.
And
And
it's
that's happening to a lot of people.
Yes.
Are losing their jobs, and they immediately go into fear. But Spirit is saying it's time to move on. It's time to be the you who you came here to be. And sometimes it takes a little boot
Yeah.
to get us past that fear and onto that new path. And don't hold on to, but this is who I am and this is what I've always done. Let go of that and say, wow, look at the possibilities. What is it that I really love to do? What is I'm really drawn to right now?
And Jim is an entertainer.
Yes.
So
Bailey's saying I'm an entertainer. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
I think you can probably hear me.
I don't know.
I'd like to add one thing that might give some insight about this. This time in our spiritual evolution is the time of the violet ray. The violet ray is the ray of transmutation and compassion. It's the predominant ray on the world now. You look around and look at all the things that you see that are purple. It is present. My roommate was telling me every time she turned around at work the other day, she was seeing a guy in a purple shirt. I mean, it's just present. And we were out for dinner last night. There was a guy in a purple shirt. It was just cool. Now, the reason I'm saying this is Saint Germain. Saint Germain is the ascended master, the Mahashohan of that ray, of the seventh ray, the purple violet ray. His watchword, his God quality that he stands for in the world and he holds the energy for is freedom. And this is what has happened for you, as Paula was saying. You have, in order for you to become free, someone took the step to give you your freedom. And so as you look at it in a totally different sort of way, when you can find it in your heart to thank the person who fired you, for you now have your freedom, you will have made a giant step forward.
Well, he said that might happen himself, but I was at that when that happened that day. I was still kind of in like,
Well,
shock.
yeah, that day.
And I think
I'm
too,
not saying
later
that
on
day.
down the line, when you look back on this, you're going to see that there were very many little subtle things that were coming up to you to edge you out. And you kept ignoring it, and you kept ignoring it, and you kept ignoring it. And then finally, here it came. You're gone. That happens to
Right.
us a lot of times because we get so wrapped up in this energy of this world that we're in now. We do not trust our intuition. We don't trust that small, still voice in our heads. And we just keep going well past what we're supposed to be doing. And a lot of times we'll be asking for something, but we're doing what's absolutely counterproductive to what we're asking for.
Mhm.
So a lot of times, Spirit will come in and say, "Okay, we've given you time here. Let's move it." And that's when a lot of times you're surprised by, "Oh my goodness, I'm homeless, or I'm out of a job, or I'm out of this relationship, or what do you mean 30 years and I've divorced already?" You know, things like that. But if you look back on it, there were times leading up to that you were trying to get your own self out of there, but out of fear, you stopped yourself. And then all of a sudden, here it came.
It was the fear that stopped me. I mean, the thing was, I loved it and I hated it. You know, something like, oh, these people,
Yeah.
this job would be great if it wasn't for the people that came in here. You know, which it's 90% of them were great. And I was genuine when I said, "Hey, hi, how are you? Give me a hug. Hey, how are you?" Blah, blah, blah. Others were just like, "You are why people don't want to do this anymore."
But look how many times you were talking about the people that went there that passed away. You said, "My gosh, I just saw them last week and they're gone now."
Yeah.
And it was getting harder and harder on you to see that happening.
It was. It actually, because the place has been open for so many years, 34 years now, there are a lot of seniors that come in there. And I've been there long enough to know that when they were spry and hip-hoppy and jumping around, and then they run a cane, then they run a walker, then they're gone. And I kept seeing my mortality in here. And I kept seeing, people in their 60s who could barely walk. And I thought, I can't do that. I can't look at this. I was wondering, how do people in nursing homes deal with this on a day-to-day basis for years, year after year after year? But I really liked them. And I think, like I said, my ego was preventing me from really stepping out on my own. I needed a boot in the butt to do
Because
it.
you weren't listening.
I was-
Everything-
I was kind of hoping that was something else. But I don't know what I was hoping for. Kind of hoping something would happen that wouldn't be quite so
And
dramatic.
you're not the first one that thinks like that. All of us have been through that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to bring up something that really irritates Jim.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Last summer, it was last summer, he was in the apartment in Dallas, Addison, and something woke me up. My time is like 4:30 in the morning, and it said, "Tell Jim he needs to buy a fruit tree and put it on his patio." And this makes him crazy. That's all he had to do, and I didn't make any sense to me, so I told him. And then I told him again, and then I told him again. And the fourth time, they said, "You tell him no more. He's failed. He did not listen." And that's all it was. It didn't matter if the tree had died or not, but it would have meant that he was now opening up and listening. And he failed. So then when it came, and then he was getting more subtle hints that were becoming a little harder. I mean, even I caught him. And I kept letting him know, you may want to move on. Think about something else. And then I just stopped because it was no longer my place.
Right.
And I was to be removed from it. And
Yeah, that's part of the free will.
yes,
We have to allow people to make their own choices.
That's right.
Especially even like what we do, there's going to be people that are going to be like, "Oh, that's taboo." They're going to believe like I used to believe, and I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't do that, or "Oh, that's not right," and that's I don't go with that. And one thing I have learned, having had the background that I did with the organized religions, is now I know what I don't want. And what I don't, and I had to go through that experience so that I would know. And I didn't realize that at the time. But one of the things that I've realized now is that I honor everyone. And the way I look at it is, you have your beliefs and I have mine. Now, I may not do the same as you. I may not have made that same choice. I may not have picked that certain thing, or whatever it could possibly be. But that doesn't make me better than you. It doesn't make me lesser than you. It doesn't make me right, and it doesn't make me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We're just on our own path.
Just different.
We're just different. So it's just basically and that's where all of us are learning now, is we must learn to honor one another. There's a Sanskrit word that gets way overused. The yoga instructors help with that deal. It's namaste. And namaste is a
Okay.
Sanskrit word for the God in me recognizes and honors the God in you. That's what it really means.
Okay. And that is
So-
also, in the Bible, it says we're created in God's image.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean we look like him, for crying out loud.
No, it's not a physical thing, no.
No, it's a whole we are God thing.
Mm-hmm. We are co-creators. That's exactly right.
Okay,
We
Therese,
create our realities.
What are you thinking right now?
I'm enjoying all.
Okay.
There's
Jump
some,
in anytime.
Anytime, yeah. You got something you want to say?
The three of us.
Yeah, we all love to talk.
it's the comfort zone. Sometimes it takes a little push to get us out of that comfort zone.
You're right. Yep.
But that's been our way of life for so long. Our security, our safety net. Even though we're stuck in a job that we cannot tolerate and it's causing even physical illness, still, we know it, we're there, we're making money, we're making a living, and we're surviving. And I did that for years and physically was in physical pain every day. And finally, through guidance from Spirit, I just quit my job. I just let it go and traveled for a while, which was amazing, for a few months. And when I came back home, I thought, well, I guess I'm going to have to go back to the corporate world because, money's not falling from the sky. Well, it wasn't meant to be. I couldn't find a job. But then things started happening and money started coming in different ways. And so I finally realized I was not meant to be in that corporate world anymore. And it was not an easy thing. It was a struggle for several months because I was still identifying myself as that person who worked an 8-hour-a-day job and, got a paycheck every week. But the freedom that, I experience now is just incredible. And I'm doing the things I love. Channeling, teaching, mentoring, counseling, different things. So, but it's stepping out of that comfort zone that is so hard. That's the hardest step to take, is that first step, to let go.
Well, there's
of that.
fear. I mean, I've read, and I believe this, that there are two main emotions in the universe. That's fear and love.
That's
Fear
it.
and love. Do you know what an acronym for fear is? False evidence appearing real.
Ooh, we should write these down.
We make these things. We always go, as humans, we've always gone to the worst scenario, the worst case scenario, rather than imagining the wonderful things that we want to create. We go into this worst case scenario, we won't survive this, and we have to change that because our thoughts and our words and our actions are creating. So think positively. Imagine what you want to create, not what you think, your ego is saying, oh, but you're going to fall in this hole and disappear,
Uh-huh.
Imagine what you want. Imagine the life that you want, the job that you want, the partner that you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you create, with your thoughts. And if you can change your thoughts, you'll change your life. Wayne Dyer said that. And it's true.
And also Neil Donald Walsh said that.
A lot of people have said
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
one of those thoughts that have traveled around the world.
Yes.
That's great.
Okay.
That's a thought that's changing a lot of people's thinking.
We are going to take another bit of a break here on the Smokin Jim Show. And I'm having a good time now. We're getting into some really good, heavy stuff. I like that. All right. Let me get my glasses on because I'm getting old. All right. Here we go. Some Billy Joel. I'm going to play some music here. Stick with us here on the Smokin Jim Show. Come back in a few minutes. We'll be with you. All right. Thanks for joining us. See you in a minute. Hi, welcome back to the Smokin Jim Show. It is 16th of March, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Plano, Texas. My guests tonight are Robin, Paula, Linda, and Therese. Let's get the camera back on that. Why look at me? You got these ladies here. And there's Bailey in the corner. We've been having a fascinating conversation. I've been loving this. Energy and fear and love and where are we going and what are you creating for yourself and that kind of thing. But we are going to go right now into what we were talking about off air before the show started. And anybody, please feel free to jump in and start about who do you channel and who are they and where do they come from? And I mean, when we get into this, I'm going to have a lot of questions. So somebody pick up the ball there.
We all made a decision a long time ago that we were going to channel those of the ascended master level or above energetically. So that means ascended masters. Those are the folks who've actually lived on Earth and have made their ascension. In other words, they became masters of energy while they were on Earth, and they were able to ascend to a higher level into the at least fifth dimension,
As
which is.
Jesus.
Pardon?
As Jesus.
Well.
Yo, you go for it, girl.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
waiting. You got in it now.
What are you going to?
Basically, it just means walking on earth as Jesus. Jesus was the Christ consciousness.
The Christ
So
energy.
he saw everything as divine love, everyone as divine, the divine being walking on earth. So many have done that as well. In addition to Jesus, there are many ascended masters. There are a limited number that we know about, but even that is probably in the hundreds. But I think that there are many, many more. And that is where we're all headed, to walk on this earth as the Christ consciousness, to be at one with our God self, our Christ self, and to see everything through the eyes of love. That's what it means to master energy, in my mind.
Very good.
All right, nicely put.
That's nice. But it actually means, not but, I'm sorry, and, there's an and, not a but, an
That's
and.
funny. Spiritual humor, everybody. Spiritual humor.
Oh, that's funny.
But as the way that you can see that.
The way that you can see that is that the person is at peace. You feel when you're in their presence, you feel that love just exuding from them. You feel you don't feel judged when you're with them. They're open to you and whatever is going on with you. If you ask for their input or advice, they might give it. But and they create everything that they need in their lives. It's like you were talking about before. You were asking for things, and suddenly they're coming to you. That's opening that channel for the good things that are yours by birth, by inheritance. They're coming to you now. It happens to all of us. We step out into the flow of love, and they start to come. Okay, so that's part of the energetic, being able to use energy in a very positive way for yourself.
Okay, a quick question I have. You're talking, ascended masters such as Jesus and others. You said that there are those who walk on Earth. Is that just Earth only? Are those the only ones? Do you contact or you talk to or hear somebody from someplace else that was not on Earth?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we channel others too.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that.
Okay, am I jumping the gun here?
Well, yeah. Let's just talk about a few that we channel
Okay.
a lot. I mean, Saint Germain. A lot of people have heard of Saint Germain. He is one of the ones I've channeled a lot. Of course, everybody has. I think everybody's channeled Saint Germain. And there's one called Serapis Bey. Really?
Say that again?
Serapis Bey is his name. He's someone that none of us really knew because he ascended such a long time ago. But he's really quite a guy. I mean, the energy that he brings is the energy of purity, and he brings through the great white light. He's very special. They all are. They're all very special.
The cool thing about the Ascended Masters is they're here to help us. We have a tendency to put them way above us on this huge pedestal, and they're really energetically not that far above us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they've had you come lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, some of them, to master all energy, just the way we've been doing. We've been here. This ain't our first rodeo. A lot of us have been here many, many times. You asked about other planets. Many of us have been on other planets. But a lot of us choose this one because of the unique energies on this planet and the free will that's also on this planet. The spiritual evolution that can be attained on this earth plane is far greater because the resistance is so strong here. If you ever think about working out, the bigger the muscles because you have the heavier weight, which is the heavier resistance. So a lot of souls almost compete, if you will, although there's no competition up there, to be down here, to come on, to be in physical form and go through the life plan that they design for each lifetime, to be able to
we're talking
finish
about
what they're doing.
billions of galaxies and billions of planets with life.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Earth is really that special.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, I mean, there's life on all of them.
Right.
You know, it would be very, I know it's a man-made thing where they think we're the only ones, but we're not.
Oh, that just can't be possible.
But with the Ascended Masters, just some of their former lives. One that hit me when you were talking earlier, and I was just reading about him today, is an Ascended Master called Lord Ling.
Ling?
Ling, L-I-N-G. He's the god of happiness. Well, in one of his embodiments, he was Moses.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, he came in that embodiment, and he did not ascend because he wasn't able to master all energy in that lifetime. If you remember, he wasn't allowed to go into the land of milk and honey because he gave...
Oh, he died before that, didn't he?
Well, he wasn't allowed to step in. I can't remember now who it was, but somebody else led the people in. He was not allowed. Aaron was allowed to go in. He was not. And the reason was because he didn't master his ego. He got upset. He got into judgment. So he got to come back again. When he came back the next time, he came back as a emperor of China, and his name at that time was Lord Ling. During that lifetime, he was able to complete his ascension, to complete the energies that he was trying to master. When he ascended, he didn't have to come back anymore. So now he works from the inner planes. So Saint Germain, we know a few of his lifetimes. He was Columbus. He was Francis Bacon. He was Roger Bacon. He was also Joseph. He was also Merlin. So he's had many
You say
lifetimes.
Merlin?
Merlin.
The Merlin?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those were actual times. That was not fantasy.
No,
Yeah.
I know that. I'm just...
Yeah.
I didn't know Merlin was real.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Back then, a lot of the teachings and the realities had to be put into fable form, myth form, to save it, because the religious leaders in that time were destroying everything. They were burning everything that was written down about man's history. So a lot of it went into fable, went into fairy tale to preserve the accountings. But they did it in such a way where, oh, that's just fantasy, that's not real. We'll allow that. So that's why a lot of us think that a lot of those myths aren't real, and they really were. But
I
that
always
was
thought
how
there
they
was always a grain of
disguised it.
truth in there
Yes,
somewhere.
that's how they disguised that to come down through the ages.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to look at things. I never thought of that.
So it's pretty cool when you can sit there and study the Ascended Masters and then see what different lifetimes that they had. And to also see, because it helps you not judge yourself. Because you're sitting there going, man, I'm so far behind, I can't ever get caught up. That's not true, You are
I
exactly
actually-
where you're supposed to be at this exact moment.
I
Everybody
actually find
is.
myself worrying sometimes, like, oh, God, what am I going to come back as next time? Please don't make it...
You'll design it. It's in your control. It's not haphazard.
Okay, so when I'm...
Just like this lifetime is totally your control. You created this entire path
Once I got here.
before you came.
Before I got here.
Before you came.
All right.
There were certain things you wanted to master. There were certain things that you needed to get done. Certain karmic situations that you knew you had to get balanced. So you mapped it all out prior to coming in. And you brought in certain people into your lifetime to help you with those situations. And when you transition, You don't die. You're simply going to change form.
Right.
You're going to go back into your life review before the Lords of Karma, and you're going to review this life.
Oh, good Lord.
And you're no, but there's no judgment involved with it.
Okay,
That's
thanks,
the beauty
because
of
it's
it.
like, oh,
That's
no,
the
how
beauty
does-
of it. It's like watching a movie, but
It's-
you're going to sit there.
I'm going to another meeting. Oh.
No, you're going to sit there and you're going to go, okay, and then you're going to remember it all because you're outside of this physical body. When we became embodied into these bodies, that veil of forgetfulness came down over us. So once we're released from these physical bodies, then we remember it all. And when you go through the life review, you're going to go, oh, I did get that right. Oh, okay, kind of missed that one a little bit. Oh, okay, oh boy, I totally got off base on that one. Oh, okay, well, I did good on that. So when you take that knowledge, when you design the next life, then you're going to pull the things that you didn't quite get accomplished and you're going to put them into the following one.
I have a comment about that.
Go ahead.
It's kind of interesting. Back in the 90s, I was kind of working through some of my stuff with my father, and he had passed away in early 80s. And I was having these experiences where he was coming to me. And I had just had this breakthrough idea, or this enlightenment from Ruth about why my parents actually got married in the first place. And he started coming in to see me, and he wanted to tell me something. And when I was so excited about what I knew that I had to tell him, and I didn't let him talk. But I finally listened to him, and it was on an Easter Sunday when I was doing some sort of an energetic thing with a friend of mine. He came through, and I could feel his remorse, his sadness about the way that he had treated me in this lifetime. So you go through that life review, and part of that, seeing that life review, is that you do feel what other people felt
How you
with
made other
things,
people feel.
with things that you did and interacted with them. You get to feel that. How did so-and-so feel when I said that to them? Could be good, could be a happy feeling, could be not so happy. He was so filled with remorse. I could feel it in my energetic field. I could feel how sad he was. It was very surprising to me. So you do go through the life review and you see all this stuff. It may not be quite as objective as you were describing. Is kind of what I'm getting at here. You get to see how other people felt with the things that you did or said to them.
What did you do at that point?
I didn't know what to do with that. I acknowledged it, and then, he had to come back again. Several years later, actually, he came back again and he said, I have things to do. I need to know that you accept the fact that I loved you. And it was like, okay, I accept. Go on and do what you need to do.
Yes.
And so, I mean, you can still do work with those who are on the other side, and that's how that happened to work for me with my father.
You know, earlier you said, we were created in the image of God. That's
Right.
part of it. We have no beginning and we have no end. We don't die. We simply transition. The physical body is the only thing that decays and dies.
Right.
But we ourselves are just as much alive as we were the day prior to the transition.
I try to explain to people, it's like, no, when you die, that's it. It's
Well,
like,
that's
how can
because
you
we were
imagine?
taught that. We were taught that.
How can you imagine yourself being like, that can't exist because nothing
Well,
doesn't.
they believe it
But
over the
they-
physical body.
that's right.
They
Right.
identify so
Yeah.
strongly, and I've been there.
Oh, I was too.
I've been there, saying that this is me.
Yeah.
This is me. I'm finally getting to a place where I know that that's not true. I kind of look at this physical body, and I'm thankful for it because it gives me a way to get around in the world, but I know that it's not me. It's really kind of cool.
Well, somebody once asked me to describe, when I said I'm not religious, I'm more kind of like toward the spiritual end. But, this person I was talking to, a coworker, who spouts a lot of biblical things. And I said, it's kind of like this. I mean, I kind of believe that Einstein was right, that energy and matter are the same thing. So if energy and matter are the same thing, then everything in the universe is the same thing, which means me and you and this desk are all the same thing. And if
Exactly.
God is the universe, and we are God,
Yes.
That's
because
right.
we are
Got
the
it.
universe.
You got it. There is
So
no
the- so-
separation.
Yeah,
right,
and
Jim.
people keep what gets people in trouble is, or unhappy, is that they keep saying God is so separate from us, and we
Right.
have to
Right.
keep
Yes.
apologizing
That's part
to
of
him.
that veil. We that forgetfulness, we believe there's a separation. And also it doesn't help when you have all the remaining religions teaching you that God is way out there and you are way down here and you're nothing but a piece of crap,
Right.
right? Every day, every
And you
Sunday
were,
you're
and
told
you were
this.
born in sin.
And you're born this way.
That-
So
oh,
that
yeah, that
doesn't
was a
help
little,
either.
wasn't it?
So these are belief systems that a lot of us have. When I first got on this path, I spent the first 3 years unlearning all the dogma, particularly the dogma that I got from the witnesses, because at that point I was of an age where it really sunk in. When I was a little kid, I didn't really pick up that much on it. But as an adult, it really made an impact on me. So a lot of folks are in that space. So that's again where I say we don't judge them, because that is their truth for
Well,
now.
like I said earlier, I mean, my mom tried to make me a Catholic, and I went to Catholic school for second, third grade, which ironically was part of the reason I stopped trying to be a Catholic, because I got so uptight with being called, always a sinner. Like, well, but then on the other hand, that stuff really sticks in your head when you're 6 years old, and it's,
Sure.
not
That's
really
how they
feeded to
control you.
Yes.
Right, but I have to keep thinking, okay, look, everything's okay. I'm fine. It's cool. I didn't do anything bad.
And parents buy into that because they try to figure out how to manage the behavior of their child. And so they bring out those kinds of beliefs and they start telling you you're a bad boy, or when you do something that they like, then you're a good boy.
Good boy.
And,
Yeah.
and so they instill that.
You have mentioned a couple times about your early Catholicism.
Yes.
Let me share with you, I was raised a Catholic.
Okay.
All through the grade school, Catholic school,
Oh, eek.
I know. But I was still a little bit different from the ordinary run-of-the-mill Catholic, shall we say.
You think, wow.
You think? It's just like I was raised in a very Catholic family. My grandmother that I lived with for a period of time used to take me around when I was 5 years old, and she would take me to meet her little French, Canadian, Indian ladies, and we would have tea. And then I would read their tea leaves. 5 years old, how did I know how to read tea leaves? We just did it. That was just normal.
Sounds fun.
That was just accepted. I grew up with freedom to hear voices, to see visions. That was exciting. Even though Catholic, very strong Catholic. But still I had the freedom to expand beyond that. Growing up and having been through many lifetimes of leadership that I'm aware of since then, chose not to do that this time, definitely. But anyway, through all that, became president of the youth group. And I was the one who became in charge of selecting who would come to speak to the group. It was the CYO at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would interview the priests that we would have come in to speak. And I would ask them some very pertinent questions, such as, where do you believe the people go who have not been given an opportunity to even learn about Jesus or even learn about the Bible? What happens to them when they die? And how they answered that type of question was the deterrent of whether they were going to speak to the group or not.
They must have thought you very presumptuous.
They probably did. But at the same time, we had no problem finding plenty of people who would come in to speak to the group on wondrous subjects, who had an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though I stayed in Catholicism throughout my 20s, almost, I didn't leave until I was 29. And that came to a point where it was time to me to marry, and I knew that it was right. But it was a man who had been divorced. Well,
that's bad news.
no. So I would go to church and I would pray, and I would say, what am I supposed to do? You know, and I would be filled with a feeling of peace. And that took a couple of times. But after a few times of this, I got to think, it can't be wrong, or I wouldn't be filled with peace, because in my heart I know this is right.
Well, lately, I have had these, and this has happened to me in the past. You know, I think everybody gets these. I mean, I think they would. But it's been happening more and more often, where I'll be just kind of like at work, my current job, and all of a sudden oh, okay, a feeling of like everything's cool, just kind of, whew, all right, I feel good. It just and it happens out of the blue, and I've been starting to say thank you for that. Just say, hey, thanks a lot for that. That feels good. But it's been happening more and more as I'm starting, I think, to relax a bit more, that everything's cool. Like, okay. And I've told her on the phone before. I'm driving to work and I'm not on the phone with you on my Bluetooth. Say, oh, I just had, I just had an angel feeling here. They just said, oh, everything's cool. Like, oh, I feel good. All right, cool. And I can't honestly pinpoint what might have caused that, what I thought of. If I thought of something that just, that I remind myself of something that was like really good news, like, no, all of a sudden, like, oh. And I'm saying, whether it's true or not, I'm saying this is an angel thing that just hit me with a little bolt of niceness here.
Well, me now. Jim, it is true. He'll say this quite frequently, and it is becoming more often.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a thing with birds. Birds are. I always pay attention to the sky. Spirit told me once to watch the sky. Something's going to happen in the sky, and if I'm watching, I'll get to see it.
The ETs are coming.
Perhaps.
So the birds, like, I swear the birds are watching over me, if that makes any sense. A couple days ago, I think I was texting. No, I was reading something on my cell phone while driving.
That's what's bad.
I hope there aren't any police officers watching at this time. That was a
Yes.
disclaimer real quick.
I know it was bad. And I knew I shouldn't be doing this. There weren't a lot of cars around. It was slow. But I was going from the road I was on, which had construction, which was slow, onto a highway that was very fast. And I was actually still reading the last few sentences when I was hitting the ramp. So...
That was figurative, right?
Yes, not. Yeah, she was.
well, I was on the ramp.
She was entering the ramp. Yeah.
Going from the slow highway to the fast highway, and a bird flew right across in front of the windshield. I was like, okay, I got it. Now, today I'm driving and I don't know what was going on, but I was paying attention as far as I'm aware of it. As far as I'm aware, I was paying attention. And right up the lane in front of me came flying a bird right at my van, just flying like, look at me. And just before I thought he was going to hit me, he flew up. But I have birds like this all the time. All
It could
the
be
time.
your totem.
Ooh, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Your totem.
And a bird will come into your life to give you a message. So you might want to look up, Ted Andrews has got some great books. Animals Speak,
Can you write
and look
that?
up bird under there, and that could very well be your totem. And
Well,
they're just
usually
trying to-
It's called Animal Speak.
It's a specific bird,
Well,
usually.
yeah.
See,
Is it the
birds,
same one you see over and over? I mean, the same species? Or
No.
different ones?
There are many different ones, but I feel that I have some connection with the hogs.
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go.
So,
So follow your
Birds.
intuition on
Yeah.
it.
Go. Bird.
Oh, nice.
Birds are part of God's creation.
Right.
Not all animals were. Birds.
Hold it, hold it, hold it.
I knew you were opening that can of worms.
Yeah.
You go right ahead.
You go right
I've
ahead,
already been
Terry.
down that road.
Okay, we're getting close to the end of the time here, so just go on with what you're saying. We might have to have you all back here real soon.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Let's just say that birds were created by God. The majority of birds. The non-dangerous, shall we say, birds were created by God. The kingdom came from God. The
Okay.
animal kingdom did not.
Okay, the what did not?
The other animal kingdoms did
Four-legged
not
ones did not.
come from God's creation.
No.
That came after.
After the fall.
After man got all engrossed with the fall. But the original species upon the earth did not include dogs and cats and
Horses
dangerous
and
animals.
goats.
Are we talking about off-world people? Helping you start
What do you
these things,
mean?
creating these things?
No,
Okay, all right. I just kind of had a feeling like, ooh, because there are
No.
some theories that I have
and we
read about.
We can go there.
about, like, the origin of humankind, actually,
We can go there. We teach that.
which is kind of, evolution went to a point, but then somebody kind of branched it off.
Well, I suggest we not get started on
Yeah,
that.
well,
Yeah,
that's
this
a
is
whole
a-
other show, trust me.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, we have ETs to talk about,
Yep.
according to Linda. Oh, my lordy Lou. We
And the
have a lot of
elemental
stuff to talk about.
kingdom, and the crystalline kingdom, and
Oh, wow.
See, we had, yes.
you didn't know who you got over here, did you?
No, well, yeah, but not. I've never had a chance to get so in depth,
Yeah.
and it's a lot.
It's a lot.
so I have to ask, which birds are
The predators. The predators, I think is what she's meaning.
Birds of prey.
The
Yeah.
birds of
Birds
prey.
of prey are the ones that are not created by God. They were created by man.
Would that be hawks?
Pardon?
Would that be hawk? Eagle?
Eagle,
Yes.
yeah. Falcons. I mean,
Yes, a bird of hawk is a bird of prey.
okay, but you also said that the fish were created by God, but there are fish of prey like sharks, barracudas. I mean, God created that too. I mean that. Here's okay. I'm getting a bit
There
kooky
are-
here.
Let me put it this way. I'm receiving word that the sharks were not originally designed with the teeth that they now have. This was an evolution promoted by man after the fall.
Man learned a long time ago how to manipulate and work with energy, and
Okay.
not for the highest good.
Okay, because when we're talking man, we're talking that man who had anything to do with manipulating sharks had to be millions of years ago.
Right, and when we
Yes.
say eons, we mean eons.
Yes.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
while
Because that's,
back.
I mean, there are fossils
Many
in
beyond where our
Yeah.
scientists think we have been.
in the
on this
California
planet.
desert. There are megalodon teeth.
Right.
When that's millions of years
Yeah.
old.
I've got a mackerel shark tooth at home. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
All right.
It's a cool concept, though.
We can blow your mind in so many ways.
Yes, my mind is becoming blown here. Unfortunately, we are out of time because. All right, this has been quite an eye-opening experience, and it's the pity that it's coming to an end right now. But we will definitely invite you all back anytime,
Thank
I'd love
you.
to come back.
either en masse or individually, whatever you want to do. I mean, you're always
you
welcome
like.
here. And we're going to talk about that when I click this thing off here. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining the Smokin Jim Show, for coming in, watching us, ladies.
Thank you
you
indeed.
so much for being here. It was, I mean, I know it was a
you for
trek
having
to have you
us.
out here.
Love and say namaste to
Namaste.
all.
Thank you. And I have a feeling we, not in a bad way, but I think who said it? Somebody said Teresa opened a can of worms here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that just happened. And I'm on a learning path right now. So I think this is a good thing. Maybe this is done on purpose by somebody out there. Okay, so by me. Yeah, well, hopefully there's something that you get out of this as well.
May I say one thing as we close?
Absolutely.
And that is, our beliefs are our beliefs. And we expect no one else to share the same belief. We allow everyone to develop and to understand their own belief and to follow which is within their heart.
All right. That sounds quite reasonable. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'll try to keep that in mind as I wake up every morning and try to get through the day. Well, we're going to take off. Join us next week, Saturday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time here. Smokin Jim will be here. Hope you are too. Have a great St. Patrick's Day. Be careful. Don't drink too much. Don't drive. And ladies, we'll see you another day, hopefully very soon. Good night, everybody.